Welcome back. Today's a bit of a different video. Here I have the house clothes dryer on the workbench, and about a week or so ago we had an issue with it. And I know what you're thinking, the issue is that the writing is upside down on the dials. But no, that's not the issue, that's just because we use this dryer on the wall and we have it inverted. But anyway, the issue is that the drum doesn't spin, it doesn't start. And when you push the start button, it just hums. Now I think I know what the issue is, and I did some testing, and I'll show you the testing I did to try and diagnose the issue. I've plugged in the dryer and I'll just show you what happens here. So I don't know if you heard that, but there's just a hum and the drum inside does not spin at all. Now if it's the starting capacitor, then what happens is the motor doesn't have any way to kickstart to start rotating. So it just sits there with the power going through it, and it just hums as you heard. So to test this, what we can do is we can start the machine and rotate the drum, and then if the drum starts spinning and it works fine after that, that's likely to be the start capacitor that's failed. Now the problem with the dryer is you have to have the door closed before you can actually start it, because there is a switch in here, and if the door's open then it won't allow you to start it. So what I can do is I can put the screwdriver in here to engage the switch so the machine thinks the door's closed, and then I can carefully spin the inside to see if we can get it to run. So again, it doesn't spin. Until you give the drum a spin with your hand. So that's likely the start capacitor, so let's pull it apart and see what we can find. Now I've just unplugged the machine because we want to make sure we don't have any power going to it while we're pulling the panels off the machine and getting our hands in there. So always safety first, and by no means this is a tutorial or anything like that. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. If you are going to do this to your own dryer, then you should follow all electrical safety precautions and any electrical requirements that you have in your particular country. This is a Haier HDY-D60 dryer, and I couldn't find any videos on YouTube about taking it apart. So I thought I'd document it by making a video, and hopefully it may assist someone if they need to be able to get into their dryer as well. From what I've seen on YouTube, I think the top needs to come off with these 3 screws at the top, and then we take the left hand side off, well from the back, it's the right hand side from the front, and the motor should be down the bottom there. In behind here, so the start capacitor should be just inside the panel there. Well, I was a little bit fooled by all those YouTube videos on how to take the side off. This machine here has the side and the front and the other side all in one piece. So it's a one big folded piece of metal. So I couldn't take the side off by itself, but it was quite simple. I just took the back cover off, and I was afraid that the drum may fall down a little bit, but you can see on both sides there's a couple of screws, so that holds the drum up. So the motor's down the bottom of the unit here, and there was a fan sitting on here which I just took off. There's a little cert clip that you take off the shaft, and then that fan can slide off. The capacitor is tucked in down there. I've put the torch on it so you can just sort of start to see the round part there, and it looks like it's one of the capacitors that has a thread way down the far end and it just fits into a hole with a nut on it. So it's a bit hard to get the camera in there to show taking it out, so I'll do that off camera. So when replacing capacitors, you need to be a little bit careful. These things can store a charge in them, and you can get a bit of a shock from them if you're touching the terminals. So when I take it out, I'll do it off camera because it's a little bit cramped up in there. But when I take it out, I'll take these leads off, and I'm going to just use a screwdriver or something to short the terminals across. And if there's any charge that's still in there, that should dissipate it. And then we'll take the capacitor out and have a look to see if we can see any issues with it. I was able to loosen the nut off the end here, and it just slides out of a slot, so I didn't have to try and get my hands in there to pull the wires off. So let's do that now. First thing I'm going to do is short this out in here. It looks like there is no charge in it. Alright, so that's the capacitor, and in this particular case it's a 10 UF, 450 volts. So I'll have a hunt around, see if I've got anything. If not, I'll have to shoot down the road tomorrow and buy one. Just before running out to buy a capacitor, I thought I might just test this capacitor first. So I've got my multimeter here, and this one here can test capacitance. So it's this little symbol here. Turn that over to that setting, and the leads we just put across the terminals here. One on that one. This is where you need about 3 hands. And one on that one, and we don't have anything showing. So that probably explains the issue. The capacitor's probably dead. Probably another test we could do is just to see if we've got any dead shorts to the case. So I'll just put it on a terminal here. The other lead goes onto the case. There's nothing there. Now I do notice on this capacitor, this surface here is a little bit bowed. You might not be able to see that on camera, but it's just slightly bowed. And the way these capacitors are designed is when they start to fail, if they get very hot, this piece here, this cap, will start to bulge out, and hopefully it breaks the connections on the inside, and that stops the capacitor from exploding. So since this is starting to bulge out a little bit, I'm wondering if that's what the problem is, and it's disconnected the connections on the inside, and that's why it's not working. Now I had a look around in my electrical box, and I did actually find a capacitor. This one here is 10 UF is what we need. 440 volts, that's fine because it's only a 230 volt unit, and made in Australia. Well, that's always a bonus, isn't it? At least it's not China. So this should be a good one. Let's test it. And we've got 9.79. So the capacitor says plus or minus 10%, so that's good. That one will work. There's only one issue with this capacitor, and that is that the little nut or stud at the back here is broken off. And I'm in sort of two minds whether to go down the road and spend $12 on a capacitor or muck around for half a day making a bracket to put this into the machine. Well, it's getting on at night now here, so maybe I'll go sleep on it and make a decision tomorrow. Okay, I've been out this morning and I've purchased a new capacitor here. So let's check that out with the measurements. 10.46, which is right in the range for 10 UF plus or minus 5%, so that looks pretty good. Okay, I'll put this in and we'll see how we go. Okay, I've replaced the back cover and we're ready to give this a test run. I've got the dryer back in place and hung up there on the wall, and it's running really well. I've run the dryer a number of times and it has not missed a beat, so it starts every time now. So I'm really pleased with this repair. As you see in a lot of my videos, it rains a lot here, even in our summer, so sometimes we need the dryer, and having it fixed is really good. Now this repair might not be just for dryers, it would be for anything that has a single phase motor with a capacitor. So if you had some other appliance that just hums when you push the start button, then you could test it by trying to rotate the motor while it's humming, and if the motor rotates and it runs fine after that, then it's likely the capacitor. So that's one place you can have a look at. Anyway, I hope this video helps someone out in the future. I hope everyone has a great day, and once again, thanks for watching.